Okay, everyone. Thanks again for joining us today for KeyDigital's webinar on our new HD over IP 4K system, getting you in the mindset for designing systems with that product, specifying when based on all of the features and benefits of the product, and then educating on how to go about installing that product. So go ahead and return to your seats here. We'll begin the webinar. Okay, very well. Okay, so the KDIP922 encoder and decoders, 4K HD over IP, it's part of our Enterprise AV product of HD over IP, our system of a family of HD over IP products. So you may know KeyDigital has had HD over IP for over 1 year now, and we started out with a 1080p solution, which is perfect for sports bars and bar restaurants. And now we're going into the 4K. We wanted to approach the market and the technology cautiously, make sure we have a really great product on hand, and deliver it to you. So if you haven't worked with HD over IP before, what you see on your screen, which upon first glance may seem simple, is actually huge. Why is HD over IP so popular at this point in time in the market? It's because just this, what we see here on the left, is that with Enterprise AV, you're able to make a video system based on your actual needs, based on the quantity of HDMI digital video input sources and HDMI digital video displays. One encoder is all you need per source, and one decoder, per display. So as we take a look here at one of the possible configurations of how you can make these systems, a digital video matrix. If you have 4 video sources and we see here 42 displays, it's not a problem. You just pick up 4 encoders, 42 decoders. So you can compare that to the previous way that the technologies were available that enabled video over IP, video matrixing systems, and it's very different because the old school way, if you will, is to have a traditional 4x4, 8x8, 16x16, 32x32. However, if you only need 4 inputs, then why would you have to go for a 32x32 matrix system, right? So it's really much more form-fitting to the system that you have, and we feel that's a huge benefit. And because it's just a matter of grabbing one of each, how many you need, you're not only able to replace traditional video hardware chassis of matrix chassis, but even distribution amplifiers. We look here, one source, 40 displays. Previously, you would do that using many 1x8s. Of course, you'd visit with our KeyDigital's technical support and system design group to have that design made for you. And but it's just, again, much more form-fitting this way. Now, with that said, you also want to, there are other considerations that might lean you back toward using a traditional hardware solution. Cost, distances, all sorts of things. So we'll get you thinking that way as far as specifications of the system. Here, for example, is a switcher in a presentation room. Now, this is very important. In presentation space, you have your mouse on the screen, right? And so you don't want to have a delay. Well, the IP922 system uses Motion JPEG 2000 compression technology, which is a very minimal compression, and therefore a very minimal lag time is created. You should be only having a delay of 1 frame. So it's hardly going to be a factor, or hardly going to be even it's a negligible amount there of delay. Also, you see the laptop in the bottom right has a local HDMI input. We'll get into the connectivity here shortly. The decoders can make up video wall. So you just use the standard encoders. Compare that to some competition products where you need special encoders to make that. Here, each decoder with the IP922, it's not the special decoder, it's just the standard decoder, has a video wall controller processor capability. And in fact, you can make a video wall up to 10 by 10, a 100 monitor video wall. You do need 1 decoder per display. But you see here also that you can assign main video wall configurations and assign sub video wall configurations. We do that quite easily with the KeyDigital 4K video over IP system. You could use these as point-to-point, meaning you don't even need to have a matrix switcher, a network switcher in the middle of the system. And you can do that to extend HDMI video, IR, RS-232, voltage triggering, voltage sensing, network connections, USB connections, audio de-embedding with DSP, all of the features there. So you may wonder, well, if I'm just doing this for HDMI, why would I do that? You look at the distance is pretty good, 100 meters, 4K. That's very good, actually. However, with a network switch in line, you would get double 100 meters into the network switch, another 100 meters out of the network switch, sending all of that connectivity. And as I mentioned a moment ago, USB. Well, the 922 system has USB connectivity, USB-B port on the encoder, which is typically connected to a USB host device, and 2 USB-A ports on the decoder units. Over there on the right-hand side, we see the operators of a network or emergency operations center. And what do they need to do? They need to be able to access these PCs and perhaps not only view their content, but also manipulate their content and data. And therefore, you have a USB and a mouse. And a USB for the keyboard as well. They can plug into the decoder and connect to whatever PC they are viewing at the time. The USB follows the video path, the selected video path as well. So you can even use a traditional USB hub. You're not limited to only 2 endpoints with these. Think of it like a USB 2.0. You could also use it for data transfer. You can also watch movies over USB, of course, right? You could do like video over USB. You can do webcams and synchronous or continuous data or non-continuous data is supported through these USB ports. So it's very good for command and control centers, operation centers, and other applications that may require USB. Here we have a matrix system once again, but we're showing the IP922's ability to be a compass control master controller. There are 3 control ports built in. It could be a compass master controller, or it could be additional control ports for any third-party control system, in fact, because the KeyCode Open API is published, the Open API where any control system or computer can speak to any of these IP922 units and say, hey, port number 1, 2, or 3, you should be IR or RS-232 or voltage trigger, and here is the command, and here is the speed of the command in RS-232. That's called the baud rate, the burst frequency, and the IR burst information in IR, or just voltage triggering or voltage sensing, high or low data. So returning to the compass control functionality of the IP922, if each 922 has three control ports, then you can see very quickly how much savings this presents you in designing your systems, and how competitive now the compass control system is to the compared to some of the other high-end competitive products in the marketplace. So you see now just what that flexibility affords you. How does all of this technology, how does it all work, and how have we come to make this kind of product? Well, it's all based on multicasting technology. And if you know multicasting, then you may also be familiar with what's called unicasting. We see it there with the red X. Unicasting would mean that for every recipient, for every decoder that's receiving a stream, it would create a copy. So if we have two decoders viewing one encoder, there would be double the bandwidth. Three decoders viewing the same encoder, it would be triple the bandwidth. Three copies of that video content on your network. Very quickly, that could become quite heavy. However, in the multicasting, there's always going to be one copy of that data, regardless of how many decoders are viewing that source. From 0 on up will always be one copy. Now, so that data goes into your network switch, and it is broadcast, as the cast portion of the multicasting word implies. It is broadcast throughout the network, and so your network switch must support IGMP. IGMP stands for Internet Grouping Management Protocol. Now, so if your encoder is just broadcasting its signal throughout your network, then naturally there's going to be, or well, not naturally, then, but what could happen? It could cause some other network problems, right? You can have unintended recipients on your network. For example, a printer doesn't need to view this video encoder, right? Doesn't need to receive that data. So that's why your network switch must support IGMP, Internet Grouping Management Protocol. Think of that as your traffic police, regulating where the encoder goes only to the desired recipients. It must be a gigabit network switch, minimal, and it must support 8K jumbo frame. 8K jumbo frame means, well, it means that the data packets, the network switch is capable of handling much heavier data packets than a typical network switch handles. Now, we do have a verified network switch on our guide on our website for the IP products, the IP922 4K system and the IP 1080p system. So if you want to look at the units once again here, the encoders are one per source, right? And we just showed you a lot of different ways these products can be used. So now let's go ahead and put this into let's paint these pictures here by looking at the connectivity. You do have an HDMI input. You have an HDMI pass-through. So in your conferencing applications, that's very useful to have a local monitor. You have an external audio input. We see it on a 3.5 there. This is front and back of the unit, by the way. And so on the front, towards the right-hand half of the product, we see an external audio input that could be associated with the HDMI in. If you wish, of course, the HDMI supports video and audio as well. You have an audio output on a balanced, unbalanced 6-pin Phoenix. That audio output is hugely important because there is lip sync delay there. There's volume control, muting control, two-band EQ. The only thing this doesn't do essentially is it's not an amplifier. You still need an amplifier, but in this case it could kind of be a dumb amplifier. It doesn't need to have all the DSP features. Those are all built into the Phoenix connector. Now, so why is the lip sync delay so important? Well, as I mentioned, you're going into a network switch and there's compression, so there will naturally be network delay. And so in order to overcome that, you have your lip sync delay compensation here that could be adjusted all the way up to 300 milliseconds. From there, we have our three green control ports, IO1, IO2, IO3. Again, as a compass control master controller, each and every encoder and decoder is a 3-port master controller. From a third-party perspective, any control system can plug into any of these control ports to control the video switching, the video routing, to control the volume levels, and anything that is controllable can happen over RS-232, IR, or USB, or TCP/IP. So extremely flexible with the control ports there. And then it could also be an expansion of third-party control systems, meaning we do publish in the owner's manual for the product, we publish how to speak to our units, to each and every individual unit on your system, how to tell it, hey, port number 1, 2, or 3, you're either going to be IR or RS-232 or voltage, and here's what you need to send right now. So it's an expansion to any third-party control system. If you've heard of Global Cache before, if you've worked with Global Cache before, think of this as a Global Cache for your or that's built into an HD over IP system. There are also 2 LAN ports that act like a 2-port switch. One of them obviously is going to come from the network switch to provide network to the encoder or decoder. The other one is to provide network to your connected sources, right? Or to cascade encoders and decoders is possible with some limitations because the bandwidth is very high here for a video signal. So you do have to keep that in mind. Now you have your USB for data transfer, KVM, we talked about that. And you see some of the full buffer technology features here. We have the hot plug, forced HPD, and the EDID control rotary, all available there. Just like all of the other KeyDigital products that you have known and loved for so long. Making things work, all of the tools built into the product to get them to overcoming any kind of digital video obstacles that you may have experienced. We always build tools into the KeyDigital products to fix those. So on the decoder, it looks pretty much identical. You have 2 HDMI ports. Again, one is a local or an HDMI output to connect your monitor, but the other is a local HDMI input. So you can have kind of a local and global presentation offering, or a lot of folks are now using this feature for gaming input. Local to the display, so you don't have any lag. You could do that. You have your audio output here as well with all of the DSP features. You have your 3 control ports. You have your LAN ports. Again, could be used for cascading. Imagine you have a video wall, 2x2, 3x3, larger, as we discussed earlier. It could go all the way up to 10x10. You can actually cascade the LAN ports as long as it's the same video source. So if your video wall is all showing, one large image, that's fine. At 4K or at 1080p, you could actually have 4 unique video streams. I want to say 4 unique video streams. We'll have to please double check that with our system design group. And then you do have 2 USB-A ports as well, as described earlier. So once you have your units, how do you go about building these systems? So that's kind of the next step, isn't it? How do you go about setting up the units? How do you go about setting up a virtual video matrix or video distribution system with your IP922s? And that's all going to be done using the KeyDigital Wizard software. So the KeyDigital Wizard software is downloaded from KeyDigital.com. And oh, you know what? Sorry. Yeah, one thing we always recommend actually. So let me make a quick detour here, which is before you even go configuring your units, you should set up IGMP in the 8K jumbo frame on your network switch. So we ask that you start with your network switch first, because that's going to be your foundation for your HD over IP system. So enable the IGMP, enable the 8K jumbo frame. How do you do those things? Well, you can follow the guides that we have on our website, and you see each network switch has approximately 8 pages of instructions on doing this. Mostly those 8 pages are filled with pictures, with images. So it's not really, it's something that a lot of folks haven't done before, perhaps. We make it as easy as possible for you to confidently go about working with network equipment and get over that mental hurdle. So enable the proper settings in your network switch so you have a solid foundation. And then the next step is to configure the units. You go to KeyDigital.com, you go to the appropriate product page, and you have your download specs. You have the option to download, or the link to download the KeyDigital Wizard software. You connect your encoders, your decoders one by one. We do suggest with the 922s doing it over USB. And then we have the ability in the KD Wizard to scan for the USB device. You choose it, you will get properties. You set the IP address for the properties, the router, the gateway, if you will. You'll set a friendly name like DirecTV1, DirecTV2, PC1, Podium PC, video conferencing codec. Whatever the end user should know these devices that video sources, video displays as. You could set those friendly names in the software. You configure all of your units one by one. And then you build a virtual matrix, a virtual system out of this. You use the KeyDigital Wizard. You connect all of your units to your network switch. You do a network scan versus a USB scan. They'll all show up. And you build a switcher telling us, hey, we have 23 video sources and we have X amount of video displays. And you could either drag one by one your sources over to the numerical input-output assignment in the second column we see currently in red. Or you could, there's just a quick button to auto-link all of them. So, we got to give you both options in case you're doing something very custom there, or maybe have multiple systems on the same network. So you assign that input-output assignment. You could add a video wall or multiple video walls to the system. We'll get into what all is in the video wall capability with this, and what all IDs and whatnot that has for you. And after you build that system, you could actually use the KeyDigital Wizard to control the system as well. If you've demoed our KeyDigital app before off of the iOS store, just search KeyDigital and you'll find 2 apps there commonly, the Compass Control app, but also the KeyDigital app. And we built that control panel into the KD Wizard software as well, where you can have that friendly name that you've assigned, and you could choose your video routing. You could drag video sources across your video walls in any configuration. And you could even have a layout that is strictly the control panel, so that you could provide that as a PC-based software control for end user, corporate end users, network operations center, emergency operations center end users are always looking for that type of feature. And now we have that with the KeyDigital Wizard, not only with the 922 system, but this is actually compatible with all of our devices that have any device that is app ready, that is that can be connected via USB, IP, or RS-232. Now, if you want a portable means of controlling the system after you've installed it, one way you could do it is control it by the KeyDigital app, like I mentioned. This has been out for over a year now, and if you haven't used this yet, it's all KeyDigital All the new KeyDigital devices with an IP control ability are app ready now. It's you can scan your network, it'll find your KeyDigital devices, and it'll give you a pre-built GUI to control the system. So it's perfect for commercial jobs on a tight budget. For example, sports bars, house of worship. They want to push around the video content, but they don't really have the money for a professional control system in some cases. You can give them something that is user-friendly so that not only the managers of the bar restaurant, but even the bartenders and waiters and waitresses can control the system. Sets like morning mode, night mode, DJ mode, digital signage mode, etc. Not a problem with the KeyDigital app. And for our 1080p IP system, you actually have a video preview as well. And our thoughts are, and our experience has been in the last year, that after you do this for some time, they're going to call you up anyhow and say, hey, you know, this is great that we could switch our video content, video signals around the bar. What do we need to do to control the cable boxes, change channels, adjust our lighting? And that's why we call this a gateway to a professional control system. So then you could sell your control system of choice, whether it be KeyDigital's Compass Control, the most modern professional control system in the market with all of our IP-based drivers. Of course, it's the native choice for enterprise AV if you want to do really cool things with the video wall control and all of that stuff that we'll show you. You could do that. Just go to keydigital.com and jump into our bidirectional drivers page to take a look at what all is there. You could even demo them on our YouTube channel and see how they all behave. And really, you know, this or any control system, any third party as well, because any third party control system, don't forget, is able to control us just plugging right in on those 3 Phoenix connectors or over the network. We even can control over IR. So if you wanted to purchase, which is sold separately, one of our remote controls, you could have just a simple IR sensor installed somewhere that the end user could point at to change the system. And controlling KeyDigital is easy because we're not a one-trick pony. We've been doing this since 1999. We actually have, you know, we have, well, with these systems, the HD over IP will respond to the same matrix switching command that we've been using for the last 10 years. So, in fact, it'll even respond to the other switching commands as well because we have full control over the hardware, full control over the software. We've, you know, the hardware totally responds to any of those old switching commands. So if you have an old system with a even a Fat Boy series matrix in place, you could just transfer that wire over to one of these devices and control it. So let's take a look at the video wall functionality of the IP922. As we mentioned, each decoder can be part of a video wall. You do need 1 decoder per display. The video wall may be a maximum of 10 displays across and 10 displays wide. Does not need to maintain a, you know, X by X aspect ratio. If you needed to do 6 by 2, you could do that, for example, no problem. We also support screen rotation, 0, 180, 270 degrees, and you could assign main and sub video walls. This is very, very cool feature. If you're a programmer and if you've ever done trying to control video wall and break it up into different zones like this, if you will, with other video walls, you know, this is always a pretty painful process. We've made it very, very easy here. So this is not only to the benefit of our Compass control system or the KeyDigital app, this is also to the benefit of other third-party control systems with advanced logical elements. You could very easily break your panels up, let it know, hey, I'm part of a 4x6 video wall as my main, but then a 2x2 video wall as my sub. So here are the commands in string form. However, we configure this in our KeyDigital wizard, or from Compass Control, the KeyDigital app, or from third-party control systems. This is what the command would look like. You assign an ID. We see in the blue A section there. So if you have multiple video walls on site, not a problem. Each video wall gets its own ID. You tell us how many vertical displays and how many horizontal displays, either with the MWH or MWV main or SWH, SWV sub video walls. That's how you do that, letting it know it's part of a 6x4 or a 2x2 or a 4x4. Then you set the position of the display. And the bezel adjust is really cool. We could see it in the B section here in purple. All you have to do is tell us what is the width of your television, including the bezel, and what is the width and height of the television with just the screen. We'll do the math automatically. So if we look here at the main video wall, 4x6, you'd have a number of horizontal displays, 6, a number of vertical displays, 4, and the position of the display, anywhere 1 through 24. And this is super easy as well. That's another thing that some video wall systems don't really do in a very user-friendly way. I like to think that engineers are just always on a mission to outsmart each other. So they have to do things the most complicated way. Well, our positioning is very easy. 1 through 24 we would see here. And you do it just like reading a book. 1 is the top left. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 in row 1. 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 in row 2. 13 through 18. Then 19 through 24 in rows 3 through 4 respectively. So let's go ahead and take a look at this question that we have here. And if you have a question, please do feel free to submit that in the GoToMeetings, GoToWebinar, your control panel that you have. Does the video wall processing work on odd aspect ratios? That's a good question. Yes, it supports any resolution up to 4K, right? Which, of course, now I'm going to draw a blank. 4096 by 2160, I think. Sorry, I might be getting some numbers messed up. But yeah, it supports odd aspect ratio. However, if your content's going to be 16 by 9, then I suggest giving a content or keeping your displays as an X by X installation. So like if you're going to do 16 by 9, then what video wall configurations would work? We would view that without looking askew. 2 by 2, 3 by 3, 4 by 4, 5 by 5, 6 by 6, 7 by 7, 8 by 8, 9 by 9, 10 by 10. However, what if you have a digital menu board? You could give us a resolution. Let's say you have a 2 by 1 or 3 by 1, 3 across by 1 tall menu board. It's real easy. You just do the math. 16 by 3, 48 that equals, and then you have one stacked. So just 1080, of course, still if you're doing 1920 by 1080 resolution. So yeah, you just make sure that the resolution coming in matches the aspect ratio of your displays as they're installed. Hopefully that's answering the question for you. And for any question, again, please don't hold back. If it's on your mind, it might be on others as well. Or if you have questions after the fact, you can submit those over to tech@keydigital.com. From there, we take a look at the sub video walls, and we have, if we look at the, this is a mistake. If we look at the number of horizontal displays, number of vertical displays, there you go, just fixing that. You got 2 by 2, we'll say in blue or purple, or we have 4 by 4 in the orange there, but we'll say these examples are 2 by 2. And the position of the display is going to be either 1, 2, 3, or 4. Very easy. to break that up into different configurations, and then it's just a matter of controlling it as you tell it that it's in whatever configuration. And we feel that we have one of the best interfaces for controlling video walls in our Compass Control Pro app. Enter your demo mode, and you'll see it in the video, the digital signage demo. And this is just a really great user-friendly way to control your video wall. Let's go ahead and watch that one more time. There you go. So again, download the KeyDigital's Compass Control app for to get the latest demos that we have on there, and that module will be available for download. Okay, now we have a question on: do the decoders have scaling capability? So, meaning, let's say, for example, that your video resolution is 1080p coming in, but you want to have it at 4K on each display. That is actually a very good question. I will have to answer that one via email. However, at this time, I'm fairly certain that we're not making any scaling capabilities available publicly, meaning it's not something we're giving the integrator the option to adjust, only the ability to do the video wall scaling, letting it know that, hey, overall here's the entire image and you're just handling this portion of that image. But since it has the ability to do the video wall, obviously there is scalers built into each decoder. So I'll just have to clarify on that and follow up with the person who has asked that question via email. Thank you for a very good question there, and sorry to not have more information on that. And just so everybody knows, we do also have our 1080p system, KD IP 1080TX, 1080RX, again, one per video source. They both support PoE, and these are really targeted towards bar and restaurant and digital signage. They're going to be the best cost system for those applications, and very, very low bandwidth here, so you could really go very large with these systems. Okay, so we have some clarification on the question a moment ago. Just want to know if we can have each display in the video wall give 1080p. So let's say, for example, yes. So let's say say your source resolution is 1080p, then for sure each display gets 1080p. It's not going to be like a really low resolution image at each TV. Let's say you have a 2x2 video wall, 4 total displays. Some video wall systems out there, you get 1080p divided by 4 resolution on some of those displays. Doesn't look too great. However, we maintain the resolution. We just give a, just the specific section of the content that each display should view. So it's still going to be a 1080p or even a 4K video resolution on each display in a video wall. Good question there. Now, just to clarify, since we're back on the video wall, hey, I answered the question. All right, cool. Just to clarify on the topic of video walls, since we are on this 1080p product, they do not support video wall. They're just for video matrixing systems, video distribution systems, but there are no video wall capabilities in there. Now, you also see they do not have a control port on them. It's just HDMI and network. So in those systems, you use The CX800, which is a small control box, also has OpenAPI. And with the OpenAPI, you're able to, again, speak to any of the CX800 units and say, hey, you, port 1, 2, or 3, you are, IR, RS-232, voltage trigger, here's the command that you're going to do. And it's again, it's open. Or using compass control, you could just install one of these for every 3 TVs in the bar and the digital signage, and every cluster of 3, you could get one of these and break out the control locally. The CX800 also acts as a control interface to control the IP1080 system because, of course, if there's no control on those boxes, how do you control a system like that from a professional control system? This is how. Very good. So, thus concludes the discussion on our Enterprise AV products. So if there's any questions, then feel free to drop those over to us now. Or your question may be, what's next? Well, you could follow up with KeyDigital and utilize one of our most powerful resources we give you, our system design group. All we really need to know is 5 things. What are your video sources and how many? Your video displays and how many? Your distances, or at least the maximum distance, so that we can specify the longest range extender needed. The resolution, 1080p or 4K, case in point, how we have the 2 different families of products with the HD over IP system. And control. Do you want to use compass control, and what else might be controlled via the compass system, or what third-party control system are you planning to use? You email those details over to sdg@keydigital.com, or you could go to keydigital.com/sdg_questionnaire.pdf to actually download this and fill it out digitally, submit it over to us by email. And we give you what looks like this. Page 1 is a design, Visio style, nothing too complicated. Page 2 is the equipment list, models and quantities of the KeyDigital equipment. So this is a really good example. We had the 1080p system for a sports bar. They had 13 video sources, 8 DirecTV boxes, a computer, an IP camera, karaoke system, digital signage computer, and an extra auxiliary input. So we had your 13 transmitters, or encoders, if you will, feeding the network switch. They had 18 individual displays, plus they had a video wall. Now remember that the 1080p product doesn't support video wall processing natively, but we were able to do that very cost effectively using our external video wall processor that we've had for well over a year now, the KD VW 4x4 Pro. So you just have 4 extra RX units so that they can break this up however they wish. Feeding the VW, you could have up to 4 different sources. So if you need to build it out like a matrix, you could do that, and it could be any of the 13 video sources that could be the video wall this way, and that's what they wanted. So we could do things based on the demands of the system, the requirements of the system, to make the best possible price point, to give a factory stamp of approval for functionality of the system as specified by your end user. And then page 2 is the models and quantities of all the KeyDigital equipment, so that your proposal goes well. You show your end user the graphical portion of this, and then so that you're not missing anything on your purchase order, you just hand this over to your KeyDigital sales rep. At this time, we'll go ahead and turn it over to you, our students. Thank you again for joining us today. If it's on your mind, please don't hesitate to ask. It's probably on someone else's mind as well. Let's give 60 seconds for you to type out those questions using the GoToMeetings control panel there. Okay, everyone. So looks like we have another question here. It's about the latency. So again, the latency is only one frame in the IP922 system. That's the Motion JPEG 2000 compression. It's a very minimal compression. So as a result, it's only one frame, which is like, I think that it's like 0.003 of a second. It's 1/60th, right? So very, very minimal. You could say it's actually negligible. However, the IP1080 system that I showed you is an extremely low bandwidth. It's using H.264, and it really does add a lot of compression. The quality of the signal is still very good, but you could tell the compression based on the latency of the direct source versus through the network, and that's actually zero point 0.4 seconds. So one last time, not to confuse anybody, the 4K HD over IP system is only one frame, and the one frame delay, which again 0.003 of a second, I believe, and then the 1080p system is 0.4 of a second. So it's close to half of a second there at 1080p. Good question. Okay, everyone. Well, if there's anything else that comes up, then please do let us know by sending your question over to tech@keydigital.com. Again, tech@keydigital.com. We really appreciate you for being with us. Now, one of the common questions is always, is this webinar going to be posted online? And the answer is yes. Just go to keydigital.com, and in the top right corner, we have our YouTube icon there. It'll jump you right into our YouTube channel, and you'll see all of our webinars, the recent webinars posted on there. Thanks again, everyone. Have a great rest of the day.